Most people see a woman who lives by herself and they draw a conclusion. They think they know her story. They see a void, a missing piece, a life on pause. They imagine quiet nights filled with an ache for companionship. But here's the truth they miss, the one hidden in plain sight. What if that quiet isn't emptiness, but fullness? What if her solitude isn't a waiting room, but the main event? Stick with me, because the final point I'm going to share will fundamentally change how you define power, love, and what it means to be truly whole. Solitude is a superpower. There's a universe of difference between being alone and feeling lonely, yet the world constantly tries to sell them as the same thing. When a woman consciously unplugs from the endless search for a partner, from the static of drama and expectation, people assume there's a problem to be solved. The reality, that woman has finally solved the problem of herself. She's arrived at a place where her inner calm is more valuable than outside applause. She doesn't need a hand to hold to believe she's worthy of being held. She is her own proof. And that self-validation is the seed of an unshakable strength. When you stop outsourcing your happiness and start generating it from within, the entire landscape of your life transforms. You're no longer a puzzle with a missing piece, you are the complete picture. She puts herself on the throne. A woman who lives alone isn't rejecting love, she's rejecting chaos. She's not hardened, she's honed. Honed her ability to see her own value, honed her instinct for what drains her versus what fuels her, honed her preference for silence over meaningless noise. This is a woman who learned that if she's not careful, the world will treat her like a resource to be mined. So she closed the mine. Instead, she greets the day in stillness, sips her tea in peace, and her first smile isn't for a notification on her phone, but for the person she sees in the mirror. Her mornings are her own. The first light of dawn painting her walls, the aroma of her coffee brewing, the soundtrack of her own thoughts, or maybe just the profound sound of nothing at all. There is a deep power in this self-containment. A magic that comes from knowing yourself so intimately that your own company is a destination, not a default. Every corner of her life is a choice. Her calendar, her living space, her emotional bandwidth. None of it is available for bargain pricing. She knows the true cost of giving these things away cheaply. She remembers the tax on her soul, the mental fatigue, the slow chipping away of her essence that happens when you over-invest in people who don't see your worth. And she has decided she's no longer for sale. It might have taken years, a whole decade even, to get to this point, to this understanding that choosing herself often requires disappointing others. But now that she's here, this is home. Her home is a physical manifestation of this mental clarity. The decor isn't a scrapbook of past relationships, it's a gallery of her own journey. Art that speaks to her, books that expanded her mind, souvenirs from solo travels that taught her about the world and herself. Her journal isn't just paper, it's a testament to her resilience, filled with the ink of processed heartaches and handwritten declarations of her own worth. Even the clothes in her closet are a uniform of self-respect, chosen for how they make her feel, not for who they might attract. Everything in her orbit has a purpose to support her, to inspire her, or to bring her peace. There is no room for clutter, emotional or physical. And still, despite this fierce curation, she is not cold. Don't mistake the fortress for a freezer. People often confuse her self-reliance with disinterest, but those she lets inside the gates discover the incredible warmth she cultivates. When she opens her world to you, it's an authentic invitation. It's the full-bellied laughter over a meal she's proud to have made. It's the intensity in her eyes when she discusses an idea that excites her. It's the comforting stillness she offers when you're falling apart, because she knows that presence is more powerful than platitudes. It is all real. She gives with her whole heart when she chooses to give, which is why every interaction with her feels so substantial. You'll never find her faking interest out of social obligation. If she is there with you, she is truly there. This is not to say she is immune to loneliness. Of course she isn't. There are nights, after the city has gone quiet and the only light is from her screen, that she might scroll and see laughing couples and bonfire circles of friends. A flicker of doubt might ask, am I doing this wrong? But then the wisdom she has fought for answers back. Wanting connection doesn't mean you must accept a bad connection. Real love shouldn't feel like a compromise you have to contort your life around. It should feel like an expansion, a partnership that adds to your world without demanding you shrink any part of it. Until that arrives, or until she decides it's not a necessary ingredient for her happiness, she is sovereign and satisfied right where she stands. Her confidence can be unsettling to some, especially to men who are used to a script where they are the rescuer. They are conditioned to chase, to fix, to provide the missing piece. But she requires no rescue. In truth, she has been her own savior more times than she can count. So when they ask the tired question, why is someone like you still single? She can smile and say, perhaps I found my person already. Because she has. She is her own person. She has become the safe harbor she once looked for in others, the champion she once hoped would fight for her. And once you experience that kind of profound self-alliance, it redefines every other relationship you will ever have. Her boundaries are now her backbone. Not to be malicious, but to be healthy. She's witnessed firsthand what happens when you let small compromises turn into huge self-betrayals. How resentment poisons the well, how trust evaporates, how two people can end up broken. So she communicates her limits clearly and early. No emotional hide and seek, no maybes, no breadcrumbing that passes for affection. If you cannot respect her terms of engagement, you simply don't get to engage. But for those who do, for those who see her strength and honor it, they find something extraordinary, a loyalty that is fierce and unwavering. Once you are in her circle of trust, she will have your back unconditionally. Just don't ask her to break her own back in the process. The road to this place was not paved in gold. There were days she felt she was walking in the dark, wondering if being alone was a victory or a failure. Breakups scraped her soul raw, friendships fizzled and tested her. Well, meaning relatives would drop hints about her ticking clock. But through it all, one unshakable truth kept calling her back to center: she is worthy of more. Not one day, not when she's better, but right now as she is. That single idea became her compass, guiding her toward every choice that celebrated her spirit instead of silencing it. Now, she navigates the world with a different energy. There's a certainty in her step, a clarity in her voice, a freedom in her laugh. She takes chances, not careless ones, but intentional risks designed to stretch her toward her own potential. It might be launching that business she'd been dreaming of, or learning a new language just for the joy of it, or finally mastering that skill she always told herself she didn't have time for. She approaches it all with a spirit of curious courage. For her, failure is not a verdict, it's data. Every setback is a lesson, reinforcing her core belief that all meaningful growth happens just outside the comfort zone. This quality is palpable. Strangers are drawn to her poise, colleagues respect her integrity. Friends admire her ability to remain a lighthouse in the middle of their storms. What they don't always see is the architecture behind the calms, the early mornings with her journal, the therapy that helped her dismantle years of faulty programming, the affirmations she spoke to her own reflection on days when the self-doubt was loud. Becoming this version of herself was the hardest work she's ever done, demanding vulnerability, honesty, and the courage to face her own shadows. And she would not trade a single moment of it, because this is the secret: living alone is not living in a vacuum. It is about deliberately creating a life so full of meaning, so rich with connection to people and experiences that align with your deepest self, that there is no room for anything less. It's about understanding that love is not threatened by independence, it is magnified by it. A partner, should she choose one, will not be her other half. He will be a fellow whole. He will step into a kingdom that is already flourishing, with a queen who is already crowned, and a dynamic built on that kind of mutual admiration is infinitely more powerful than one rooted in need or codependency. So no, she is not waiting. She is building a foundation so solid that it can support the weight of a great love when it comes. Until then, she is more than happy to be the sole occupant of her amazing life, dancing in her living room, getting lost in books, conquering new goals, and fiercely loving the one relationship that is guaranteed to last a lifetime, the one she has with herself. And that, right there, is the greatest romance ever written. She refuses to settle. This is what people fail to grasp. That woman you see at the cafe, lost in a book, enjoying her own company, she could likely have a dozen men lighting up her phone. A dozen messages waiting for a reply, a dozen potential distractions. She's not responding, not because she's arrogant, but because none of it feels right in her soul. None of those options feel aligned with the woman she is and the life she is building. She isn't single due to a lack of options. She is single due to an abundance of self-respect. The world may whisper that her solitude is a sign of lack, but she knows the truth. Being alone is not the problem, settling is. And she will not exchange her hard-won peace for chaos, her security for games, her self-worth for crumbs of attention. Love is not supposed to make you question if you are enough. It is supposed to be the ultimate confirmation that you always were. So until a man shows up who is ready to reflect her own high standard of love back at her, she will remain right where she is, whole, independent, and gloriously herself. Love is not a foreign concept to her. She knows its peaks and she has survived its valleys. She's been swept away by romance only to be left stranded on the shore of disappointment. She's handed over parts of her heart only to see them fumbled, judged, or discarded. Those experiences did not shatter her, they forged her. They taught her the weight of trust, the importance of boundaries, and the absolute rarity of a true, conscious partnership. So now, when she imagines love, she doesn't see fireworks and fairy tales. She sees respect, she sees alignment, she sees two whole people making a daily choice to show up for each other, especially on the days it isn't easy. Anything short of that, she's not available. She's not afraid of love. Fear isn't the issue at all. What she fears is regression, repeating the same toxic cycles, dissolving into someone else's life, letting a moment of loneliness cloud her judgment. She has watched too many brilliant women dim their own light, quiet their voices, and shrink themselves to fit into relationships that were never worthy of them. That is not her destiny. If anything, her willingness to wait makes her more courageous than most. She is brave enough to hold out for a connection that feels like a sanctuary, not a compromise. A love that makes her light shine brighter, not one that asks her to hide it. Courage, she knows, is not about taking a blind leap. It's about knowing what you're worth and having the guts to demand that the world see it too. Loneliness does visit sometimes. Of course, in the late hours when the house is still, during holidays that seem designed for pairs, in fleeting moments where she wonders if her standards are too high. But then she remembers wanting the best doesn't mean you should accept less. She deserves someone who can match her drive, who will meet her in the middle, who sees her ambition as a feature, not a flaw. Someone who champions her victories and holds her through her defeats without trying to control either outcome. Until that person appears, she would far rather have a quiet dinner with solitude than a loud one with dissatisfaction. This way of thinking is a puzzle to some. Friends might ask why she isn't putting herself out there more aggressively. Family might suggest she's being too selective, too idealistic. Even well-intentioned colleagues might tease her about her high standards, as if expecting respect and emotional consistency is a fantasy. But she doesn't let their noise shake her foundation. She knows what they may not, that the right love doesn't ask you to choose between your core needs. You should not have to pick between passion and peace, excitement and security, or feeling desired and feeling valued. Real love is a both-and proposition. Everything else is a distraction. Her confidence can be a filter for some men, especially those who expect women to perform a dance of pursuit and appeasement. These men want her to play by the old rules, to text first, to forgive bad behavior, to contort herself into a shape that makes them feel powerful. But she is no longer playing that game. She doesn't chase, she attracts. Her authenticity is magnetic. The way she listens with her whole being, speaks her truth without apology, laughs from her gut. There is no mask, no hidden motive, just her. And while that level of realness might scare some men away, the ones who are drawn to it, they are keepers. Through her very posture, she communicates a clear message: I am complete. Complete without your validation, complete without your approval, complete without your permission. This energy creates a gravitational field, pulling in people who can appreciate it. People who understand that to love her is to respect her sovereignty, to support her evolution, and to meet her as an equal. When someone finally enters her life on these terms, it will not be a rescue mission. It will be a joint venture. It will be because they both see the beauty in co-creating something new. And when that person comes, they will not complete her. That implies she was incomplete to begin with, and she is anything but. No, this person will complement her. They will bring skills she admires, views that challenge her, and a strength that shores up her own. Together, they will be more than the sum of their parts. But here is the critical point. She is not holding her breath. If it happens, amazing. If it doesn't, also amazing. Because she has learned the ultimate truth: fulfillment is an inside job. So she continues to live a life that is full and unattached to a specific outcome. She takes the solo trip, she dives into the new hobby, she invests in her friendships, she builds her legacy, she nurtures her own soul. Every single experience makes her a more interesting, more dynamic, more magnetic person, and therefore an even better partner should one arrive. And if one never does, that's perfectly fine. She is already living the life people dream of. A life of purpose, passion, and a profound, unwavering love for herself. A woman who refuses to settle doesn't just attract a better love. She becomes it. Peace is her bottom line. She has learned the one lesson that changes everything: your peace of mind has no price tag. Once you've had a real taste of a tranquil life, once you let it soak into your very bones, you will not trade it for anything. Not for chaotic romance, not for an ego boost, not for fleeting thrills that leave you feeling empty. Peace is not simply the lack of conflict. It is the presence of alignment. It is knowing who you are, what you need, and having the courage to build your life around that truth. Once you've constructed a world on the foundations of self-respect and clarity, you don't go back. For her, relationships are not about filling a hole or chasing a high. They are about adding a new, beautiful room onto a house that is already structurally sound. Anything that threatens the foundation is not an addition, it's a demolition. Relationships that create confusion, demolished. No deliberation, no second chances, no hoping he'll be different. Situationships that are an energy leak. Gone. She has no bandwidth for lukewarm interest or emotional games that are passed off as romance. A woman who lives alone has mastered a sacred respect for her own space. Not just the four walls that surround her, but the mental and emotional sanctuary she carries within. Her home is the external expression of this. It's orderly, not from obsession but from intention. Wiping down the counters, making the bed, clearing the clutter. These are not chores, they are rituals. They are acts of service to herself and the peaceful environment she has intentionally built. She knows that physical clutter creates mental clutter. When her home is in order, her mind is in order. There is a profound power in walking into your own space and feeling an immediate sense of calm, knowing that everything in it belongs, including you. Her sanctuary isn't cold or sterile, it's alive. It's a reflection of her soul filled with small, personal touches. The scent of a favorite candle, the green leaves of a plant reaching for the sun, a stack of books that changed her life. This is her universe, carefully chosen and fiercely guarded. Because here is the truth she lives by. Peace is not a mood, it's a discipline. It's a choice she remakes every single day, sometimes every hour, to choose what feeds her soul over what depletes it. For her, this means setting boundaries without an apology. It means saying no when her gut tells her to. It means walking away from the almost relationships that offer short-term excitement but long-term exhaustion. Protecting her peace is not an act of selfishness, it's an act of survival. People often get this wrong, calling her demanding or too intense. She isn't bothered. What's demanding is trying to live alongside toxicity. What's intense is betraying your own well-being to make someone else comfortable. She is neither of those. She is simply deliberate. If someone wants to enter her world, they must learn its rhythm. They must arrive with respect, with calm, with emotional fluency. Drama has no place here. Passive aggression will be spotted and shown the door. Vague intentions and mixed messages will not be tolerated. This is not a negotiation. If you want a key to her heart, you must also accept the responsibility of helping her protect it. That is what true partnership looks like to her now. Two people committed to being a sanctuary for each other, not a storm. And yet for all these high walls of entry, she is not closed. In fact, it's the opposite. The few people who earn a place in her inner world discover a depth of connection that is rare. Conversations are easy because they are rooted in trust and honesty. Laughter is genuine because there are no mind games or hidden resentments. Even the silences are comfortable, full of shared understanding. In her presence, people feel safe. Safe to be themselves, safe to be vulnerable, safe to just be. That is the incredible gift of someone who has prioritized peace. It becomes a gift she gives to everyone around her. But she did not wake up one day with this level of insight. It was earned. Earned through years of trial and error, of stumbles and lessons, of heartbreaks that felt like endings but were actually beginnings. She has been in relationships where chaos was the baseline, where communication was a weapon, where love felt more like a cage than a refuge. Every single one of those experiences taught her something critical about herself, about what she would and would not accept. Eventually, she learned that peace was not something you could get from another person. It had to be cultivated within, radiating outward, becoming the very lens through which she views every choice, every person, every possibility. Now she moves through the world with a quiet power that says, I know what I'm worth, and I will not accept a discount. Strangers might read this as being standoffish, but those who look closer see the softness under the surface. They see her profound respect for authenticity, her love of balance, and the ferocity with which she guards the sanctuary she built for herself and for anyone lucky enough to be invited in. Some days, the chaos of the world tries to breach her walls. The stress of work, the weight of expectations, the pull of family drama, all of it can threaten her inner balance. But she has built a toolkit to defend her peace. Meditation recenters her. Journaling helps her process feelings before they can fester. A walk in nature grounds her in what truly matters. These are not hobbies, they are essential infrastructure. They are the support beams that keep her inner sanctuary standing, even when the world outside gets loud. When people ask her how she lives so happily alone, she just smiles and says, it's simple, I choose peace. What she doesn't always say, but what becomes clear to anyone who knows her, is that choosing peace is an active verb. It demands vigilance, discipline, and profound courage. It means saying goodbye to things and people that disrupt your harmony. It means holding firm to your truth, even when people call you unrealistic. It means trusting yourself enough to know that you deserve a life defined by serenity and joy. In the end, this is what protecting your soul looks like. It looks like creating a life so in tune with your own values that anything out of tune is immediately obvious. It looks like this woman who wakes up every day in a space that nurtures her, surrounded by an energy she created, navigating the world on her own terms. She's not waiting for anyone's permission to live a full life. She is already doing it one peaceful, powerful moment at a time. She has standards, not walls. Some will look at a woman like this and see a fortress. They assume her standards are just bricks stacked high to keep the world out. They have it all wrong. She is not sealed off, she is simply selective. Her heart is not a vault, it's a VIP lounge. Yes, it's protected, but it's not a prison. There's a critical difference between building walls and setting boundaries, and she knows it intimately. Walls block everyone and everything, the good, the bad, the potential. Boundaries, however, are like a sophisticated filter. They only let in what is resonant with her truth. They create a safe space for connection to grow without inviting destruction. And that is precisely what hers do. She is open, but she is discerning, open to joy, to intimacy, to the shared moments that make life rich, discerning about who she shares those moments with. She no longer hands out pieces of herself like free samples, because she finally understands their immense value. Every bit of her energy she gives to another person is an investment in her own well-being. So why would she invest in anything less than a blue chip stock? Why would she settle for a shallow conversation when a deep connection is possible? She has no interest in half-hearted efforts. If you are fortunate enough to earn her trust, you will discover the vastness of what she has to give. But first, you must prove you are a worthy investment. For her, love is not blind, it is clear-eyed. She loves with her whole being, but always with her wisdom intact. She knows that real love is not supposed to make you question your worth or silence your intuition. True love should make you feel more like yourself, not less. That's why she approaches relationships with such intention. She chooses partners who can match her commitment, who will meet her in the middle, who understand that partnership is a two-way street. Love to her is not a transaction, it's a co-creation. It is two whole people bringing their best to the table, not one person giving everything while the other simply receives. She gives, but not to just anyone. This isn't about being stingy, it's about self-preservation. She has learned, the hard way, that her generosity will be exploited if it's not directed wisely. She has emptied her cup for people who took her loyalty for granted, who saw her effort as an expectation, whose own apathy was a wet blanket on her fire. Those days are gone. Now her gifts, her time, her care, her devotion are reserved for those who can truly see them, for people who recognize their value and reciprocate with their own. And what she brings to the table is a feast, a loyalty that is deeper than most will ever know, an effort that is consistent and true, even when things are difficult, a vision for life that is so inspiring it makes those around her want to be better. These are not boasts, they are facts. She knows her own value, and she will no longer dim her own light to make someone else feel comfortable in their mediocrity. She is done accepting the minimum from others because she refuses to give anything less than her maximum. Attention without intention is just noise to her. Words without actions are empty. Promises without follow-through are an insult. This kind of woman doesn't need a constant stream of validation to feel alive. She doesn't need chaos to fill the silence. Her life is already humming with a quiet richness because she built it that way, with her own hands, her own choices, and her own unbreakable spirit. She finds her joy in solitude, her comfort in self-reliance, and her fulfillment in the passions that make her soul feel electric. Touch is not a currency for her. Desire is not measured by physical presence. She feels desired because she desires herself. She feels love because she loves herself. Anything that comes from the outside is a beautiful bonus, but it is not essential. If someone wants to be a part of her world, they have to understand this fundamental rule. They are not there to complete her. They are there to complement her. They are there to add a new color to a masterpiece she is already painting, not to paint over it. They must bring peace, not drama, purpose, not distraction, protection, not harm. She needs a partner who sees her strength and says, I admire that. Who sees her boundaries and says, I will honor that. Who sees her ambition and says, how can I support that? For anything less, she will turn and walk away without a second thought, because walking away is no longer painful for her. It used to be, back when she confused staying with loyalty, back when she overstayed her welcome in places that were draining her spirit, back when she thought she needed another person to ratify her existence. But now, leaving feels like a homecoming. It's not an act of fear or avoidance. It is an act of freedom, the freedom to choose herself always, the freedom to make her peace the highest priority, the freedom to say, your energy does not align with mine, and that is okay. I wish you the best, but I will not sacrifice my well-being on the altar of your comfort. People will sometimes mistake this selectivity for coldness. They will call her intimidating, assuming she's too proud or too picky. But the ones who get to know her, the ones who have earned a seat at her table, know that's not the truth. She is warm, she is generous, she is loyal beyond measure. What she is not is a fool. She has seen enough of life to know its patterns, to see the red flags while they are still pale pink. She has been hurt enough to know the profound importance of protecting her heart, not from fear, but from wisdom. Her standards are not designed to push people away. They are a filtration system designed to attract the right people. Think of it like a gold prospector's pan. Only the valuable, weighty things remain. Only those who respect her, cherish her, and elevate her make it through. The rest, the gravel, the sand, the superficial, slips away naturally, without a fight, without regret. It's not personal, it's physics, it's survival, it's how she thrives. In the end, having standards is not about who you exclude, it's about who you include. The inclusion of the right energy, the right intentions, the right souls. It's about creating a life so precisely aligned with your truth that anything that doesn't match feels dissonant and wrong. This woman doesn't build walls to lock people out. She sets standards to invite the right ones in. And if you are ever one of them, you will realize just how blessed you are. Because to be chosen by her is not just to be loved, it is to be honored. You cannot make a woman feel shame for a solitude she wears as a crown. You cannot trip her into settling for less when she is intimately familiar with her own worth. There is a quiet authority in how she moves through the world, an unshakable self-knowledge that emanates from her core. It is not arrogance, it is awareness. She has done the hard work of excavating her own value. And once she found it, the entire game changed. The world stayed the same, but she was different. And because she was different, none of the old rules applied to her anymore. The second she understood that her value was not determined by a relationship status, she was free. For years the world had been whispering lies, that her worth was measured by being wanted, that love was the ultimate prize, that happiness was a two-player game. But she turned the volume down. She began to look inward for answers instead of outward, finding them in the quiet truths of her own soul rather than in the loud opinions of others. And what she found was world-changing. She is enough, exactly as she is. Not enough for now, not enough until someone comes along. Just simply enough. This knowledge liberated her. She doesn't need to post a couple's photo to feel adored. She doesn't need a good morning text to feel seen. Her validation is no longer an external resource, it's an internal, renewable one. It lives in the quiet, sacred acts of showing up for herself, the early morning journaling, the solo weekend adventures, the way she holds herself through a tough day. It thrives in the way she mends her own heart, not perfectly, but patiently, in the strength she builds when no one is clapping, brick by brick, day by day. This self-love isn't selfish, it's survival. It's the act of choosing yourself, again and again, even when the world is screaming at you to choose someone else. This kind of woman doesn't mourn her single status. She celebrates it, because being on her own gave her the unobstructed view she needed to truly see herself. Solitude was the mirror that showed her the truths that get blurred by the noise of relationships and expectations. Alone, she rediscovered what makes her laugh from her belly, what music makes her spirit soar, what dreams are worth fighting for. She learned her own rhythms, her own needs, her own non-negotiables. Being single wasn't a waiting period, it was a becoming. It was her chance to become her own best friend, her own fiercest defender, her own safest home. And when you know who you are, a magical thing happens. You stop tolerating what is not for you. You stop wasting your precious time on people who treat you like an option, who consider your feelings a footnote, who see your needs as an inconvenience. You start to see the patterns before they become problems. The inconsistent communication, the vague commitments, the lukewarm energy, and you address them immediately, or better yet, you simply walk away. Because why would you invest your 5-star energy in a 1-star situation when you've already promised yourself a 5-star life? Knowing your worth changes your physical presence. It straightens your spine, it deepens your voice, it grounds your energy. People feel it. Some are intimidated. They are accustomed to women who will bend and shrink to fit into spaces not designed for them. But she stands tall, taking up the space she is entitled to. She speaks with clarity, listens with purpose, and loves with discernment. When she walks into a room, she doesn't demand attention, she commands respect. Respect for her time, for her boundaries, for her very essence. Men sometimes mistake this confidence for a lack of interest, as if her self-sufficiency means she has no need for them. But needing and wanting are two entirely different things. She does not need a man to complete her, she is already whole. She may, however, want a partner to share her journey with, but not at any price. If someone wants to be with her, they must first be able to see her value and reflect it back. They must see her light and want to stand in it, not dim it. They must understand that to love her is to honor her autonomy, support her ambitions, and meet her as an equal. For anything less, she'll take a pass. With gratitude, her worth is not a topic for discussion, it's a settled fact. People will still try to debate it. Friends will suggest she's being too picky. Family will hint that her standards are unrealistic. But their opinions are like rain on a window pane, they don't get inside. Why would they? She spent years of her life painstakingly dismantling the lies she was told about herself and replacing them with truth she has proven with her own life. She has earned her confidence through private battles, late-night epiphanies, and a relentless commitment to her own growth. No offhand comment can undo that sacred work. Sometimes she reflects on the past versions of herself, the girl who ignored her intuition, the young woman who marinated in toxic dynamics, the person who confused sacrifice with love. She feels a deep compassion for them, knowing how far she has traveled. But she does not linger there. She uses that gratitude to fuel her forward motion, to keep growing, to keep evolving. Every experience, good and bad, was a chisel that sculpted her into the woman she is today, strong, resilient, and utterly unapologetic. In the end, knowing your worth isn't just about what you say no to. It's about what you say a resounding yes to. Yes to your dreams, yes to your passions. Yes to your peace. It is about building a life so full and so satisfying that anything that doesn't add to it is glaringly out of place. This woman doesn't settle because her life is already settled on a foundation of her own making. And if someone wants to join her there, they had better bring a contribution that is worthy of the structure she has so carefully built. Until then, she is perfectly content on her own, with herself, for herself. And honestly, that is everything. She's building, not waiting. She is not sitting in a beautifully decorated room, waiting for a knock on the door. She is out in the field, with a blueprint and a hard hat, building an empire. Her career is rising, not by luck, but by strategy. One promotion, one project, one new skill at a time. Her body is a temple of discipline and self-respect, sculpted not for an external gaze, but for her own power and health. Her mind is a fortress, reinforced daily with knowledge, with curiosity, with the hard-won wisdom from lessons learned. And her future, it's not something she's waiting for fate to deliver. It's something she is actively, passionately, and relentlessly constructing with her own two hands. Her love life is not on hold. It is simply not the only project she is managing. People see that she is single and they project their own fears onto her. They assume she must be lonely, quietly desperate for a partner. They could not be more mistaken. She is not desperate to be rescued. She has already rescued herself. Rescued herself from bad relationships, from limiting beliefs, from the soul-crushing idea that her value was something to be granted by another. She does not need a hero on a white horse. She has become her own hero. The armor fits her perfectly. The truth is, she wants love. Of course she does. Love, when it is right, is one of life's greatest experiences. It is connection, partnership, and mutual growth. But here is the critical distinction. She will not accept a counterfeit version, not at the expense of her peace, not for the price of her self-respect. She knows what bad love costs. It costs you your energy, your confidence, and years of your life you can never get back. She refuses to allow anyone to threaten the beautiful structure she has worked so hard to build. So she will wait as long as it takes, because she knows that choosing the wrong person will set her back years. Years of compromising, of doubting, of shrinking. She has more important things to build. This is the source of her patience. This is the root of her groundedness. This is the reason for her focus. Her patience is not a passive state, it is an active choice. It is choosing daily to invest in her own dreams over momentary distractions. Her groundedness comes from an unshakable sense of self and purpose. Her focus is on the real prize, a life lived on her own terms, whether that's a professional achievement, a personal goal, or simply the preservation of the sacred peace she has cultivated. She does not see time as an enemy. Time is her collaborator. What she fears is not the passing of time, but the wasting of it on things and people that pull her off her path. She doesn't fear being single. Being single is her freedom, her clarity, her opportunity. What she fears is being partnered with someone who would hold her back rather than cheer her on. That is the fundamental difference between her and so many others. When people ask if she worries she's missing out, she just smiles. Missing out on what exactly? On settling for less than she deserves, on investing her precious energy in someone who is not aligned with her vision. No, life is far too short and her potential is far too great to waste on mediocrity. She is too busy creating a remarkable life to even notice the things she is supposedly missing. She wakes up with a plan, moves through her day with intention, and goes to sleep proud of the reality she is creating. There is no space for regret in a life lived with this much purpose. And yet, for all her focus, she remains open. genuinely open to love, not in a desperate, grasping way, but in a calm, expansive, and authentic way. If the right person appears, someone who matches her energy, honors her boundaries, and shares her core values, she will welcome them into her world with an open heart. They will not be her savior, she's already saved. They will be her partner. They won't complete her, she is already whole. But they will complement her, adding a new dimension to a life that is already rich and thriving. Together, they will build something even greater than what either could have built alone. But until that day, she is perfectly content to keep building by herself. Here is what truly sets her apart. She views her single status as a strategic advantage, not a deficit. It gives her the space to evolve without interference, to dream without compromise, to explore without needing permission. She takes solo trips, discovering the world and herself at her own pace. She cultivates deep friendships that nourish her soul. She pours energy into hobbies that light her up from the inside. Every experience adds another layer to her, making her an even more compelling and magnetic human being, and therefore an even more incredible partner, should she choose to be one. But again, if that partner never shows up, she is fine, because she is already living a life that most people only dream of. Some men are threatened by this. By her ambition, her independence, her refusal to play the games. They are used to women who will chase, who will bend, who will make themselves smaller to fit into their lives. But she doesn't operate that way. When she enters a relationship, it will be a conscious choice, born of desire, not of need. It will be because she genuinely wants to share her incredible world with someone who will add to it. Those men who are intimidated by her confidence will walk away, and she will think, God, she doesn't have time for anyone who is not prepared to meet her on her level. Because here is the secret, she is not waiting for her life to start. She is living it, right now, one achievement, one adventure, and one act of self-love at a time. She is the author of her own story, writing it with bold ink and a steady hand. And if someone wants to be a character in her story, they will have to be extraordinary. They will have to bring their best self to match hers. For anything less, she will smile, wish them well, and get back to building her empire. In the end, she is not afraid of time passing. She is afraid of her purpose passing. She is not afraid of being alone. She is afraid of being with someone who makes her feel alone. And that single distinction changes everything. Because while others spend their lives searching for love, she is busy becoming a woman worthy of the greatest love of all. And when it finally finds her, it will know just how lucky it is. She is not alone, she is aligned. Being by herself does not mean she is cut off from the world. It means she is profoundly connected to herself, to her values, her intuition, and her purpose. Society confuses solitude with loneliness, but she has learned the difference. Loneliness is a feeling of lack, a painful awareness of something missing. Alignment, however, is a feeling of fullness, of quiet coherence. It's the steady, internal hum of knowing exactly who you are and standing firmly in that knowledge, especially when no one is watching. For her, being alone is not an act of isolation, it's an act of integration. It is the process of gathering all the scattered pieces of herself and bringing them together into a powerful, unified whole. She is not lonely, she is discerning. Discerning about who gets her time, her energy, and access to her heart. People can mistake this for being distant or aloof, but they are wrong. She has simply learned that the currency of connection is quality, not quantity. One deep, meaningful relationship is worth more to her than 100 superficial ones. She prefers profound conversation to idle chatter, comfortable silence to nervous noise, and mutual respect to fleeting flattery. When she invites someone into her life, it is a conscious choice, not a desperate attempt to fill a space. She is not cold, she is wise, and wisdom is earned through experience. Heartbreak taught her resilience. Mistakes taught her discernment. Failure taught her courage. Every lesson added a new layer to her understanding of love, of life, and of her own soul. Now she navigates the world with an inner warmth, even if it is guarded by caution. She no longer wears her heart on her sleeve for all to see. It is kept safely within, protected, but ready to be shared with those who prove they can handle it with care. This wisdom doesn't make her unapproachable, it makes her intentional. Every word, every action, every choice is rooted in a deep sense of purpose. She is not anti-love, she is pro-peace. For her, love is not a battlefield to be won, it is a sanctuary to be nurtured. Anything that disturbs her inner peace is by definition not love. It is simply noise, it is drama pretending to be passion. It is chaos masquerading as connection, and she refuses to entertain the confusion. Peace is her North Star, her foundation, her highest priority. Without it, nothing else works, not romance, not success, not external validation. With it, everything else has a chance to flourish. Love can and will come, but only if it can coexist with her peace. It must enhance it, never threaten it. That is her one non-negotiable term. This woman moves through life with a quiet grace, not because her life is easy, grace rarely is, but because she has learned to be comfortable in the stillness. She knows how to sit in silence without frantically reaching for a distraction. Silence is not empty to her, it is sacred. It is the space where she can finally hear her own voice, clear and untainted by the opinions and expectations of the world. In that quiet, she finds her clarity, her strength, her truth. She learns to trust her own guidance system, to rely on her gut, to honor the decisions she makes for herself. The world will always try to pull her in a million directions, but she remains anchored in her own center, unwavering. She does not run from the quiet, she runs to it, because that is where her power resides. Her power is not loud or aggressive. It is a quiet, steady, unshakable force. It is the power of knowing she doesn't need anyone to validate her, while remaining open to a partnership that elevates her. It is the power of choosing solitude not from a place of fear, but from a place of profound self-respect. It's the power of recognizing that the right kind of love will never ask her to be smaller, it will invite her to become even more herself. And here's the beautiful paradox. The person who is truly right for her will not disrupt her silence. They will understand it, they will respect it, they will add to its richness. They will not see her independence as a rejection, or her quiet nature as indifference. Instead, they will admire her for having built a peaceful inner world, knowing that this same peace will be the bedrock of their relationship. Together, they will create something remarkable, built not on need or desperation, but on mutual admiration and a shared commitment to peace. Until then, she remains content in her alignment, trusting that life brings you what you need exactly when you need it. Because ultimately, being aligned with yourself is the greatest offering you can make to the world and to anyone lucky enough to be in it. When you know who you are and what you stand for, you stop searching for approval and you start attracting respect. This woman is not waiting for love to find her or fix her. She is already whole, already found, and when the right person finally shows up, they will not change her. They will celebrate her. They will join her in her alignment, creating a harmony that is more beautiful than anything she could have created alone. In the meantime, she walks her path with grace, with wisdom, and with an unshakable faith. Faith in herself, faith in her journey, and faith in the timing of it all. Being alone is not the absence of love. It is the presence of alignment. And in that alignment, she has everything she will ever need to thrive. Let me leave you with this, because it's the part that is rarely spoken aloud. The woman who lives alone, she is not falling behind. She is miles ahead. She is ahead of the agony that comes from ignoring your intuition, ahead of the heartbreak that comes from trying to force a connection that isn't there, and ahead of the soul-crushing chaos that distracts so many from their true calling. This is not just a nice thought. It is a fundamental truth that should be celebrated, but is too often whispered as if it were a consolation prize. She did not choose to be lonely. She chose to be clear. And it's vital to understand what that means, because clarity is not a value that society promotes. We are constantly flooded with images of perfect couples, prescribed life timelines, and the idea that our personal milestones must be met by a certain age. Clarity is the radical act of choosing yourself over the pressure to settle. It is deciding that your internal peace is more important than fitting into an external picture of what life should look like. It is understanding that waiting for what is right for you does not mean you are flawed. It means you are brave. And that kind of bravery is a choice very few are willing to make. Just think about it. How many people do you know who are staying in jobs, cities, or relationships they have long outgrown, simply because the thought of leaving is too terrifying? How many accept crumbs of affection because they don't believe they are worthy of a feast of respect? Far too many. But here is the difference. The woman walking her own path is not afraid of the emptiness. She knows her own company is a precious commodity, and she refuses to devalue it by mixing it with anything less than spectacular. So, if you are that woman walking alone right now, I want you to hear this. Keep walking, keep building, keep guarding your peace as if it were the most valuable thing you own, because it is. You are creating a life of immense beauty, even if it doesn't match the world's definition of success. Maybe you are mastering a new skill, nurturing friendships that feed your soul, or pouring yourself into a passion that makes you feel alive. Whatever you are doing, do not stop. Every single step you take on your own is proof that you are exactly where you are meant to be, no matter what anyone else thinks. Now, here is the part about love that gets left out of the fairy tales. The love that you are making space for is not just about romance, it is about respect. Respect for your journey, for your boundaries, for your dreams, and for your flaws. Real love will show up as a partner, not a savior. It will honor the incredible person you have become on your own. It will amplify your light, not ask you to dim it. When it finally arrives, and believe me, it will not feel like a desperate rescue. It will feel like coming home, not because you needed to be saved, but because it recognizes and cherishes the masterpiece you already are. Think about it. Wouldn't you rather wait for someone who sees your strength and wants to stand beside you in it, instead of someone who wants to fix what was never broken? Wouldn't you prefer a love that celebrates your independence instead of being intimidated by it? Of course you would, because true connection is not about finding someone to make you whole. It's about finding someone who reminds you that you have been whole all along. Here's another layer. Living alone does not mean being isolated. Some of the most powerful women I know have built entire ecosystems of support around themselves, friends, mentors, and family who champion them. They have learned that a thriving life does not depend on a romantic partner, it depends on meaningful connections, wherever they come from. So while the world is fixated on couples, these women are busy cultivating lives that are rich with purpose and joy, and the amazing thing is that happiness is magnetic. People, including potential partners, are drawn to that kind of authentic, self-generated light. But let's be real about the tough moments. Yes, there will be nights when doubt pays a visit, days when the pressure of the world feels heavy and you wonder if you are asking for too much. In those moments, I want you to remember this: every single day you are planting seeds. Seeds of self-respect, resilience, and faith in your own journey. Those seeds are growing into something magnificent, even if you can't see the full bloom yet. Trust that process, trust yourself, because the secret no one tells you is that the best things in life are rarely the things that come easy. They arrive after years of saying no to mediocrity, after countless moments of standing firm in your truth, and after you have learned to treat your solitude as a sacred garden for your own growth. Love, real, transformative, soul-deep love, is no different. It waits for those who have the courage not to settle. And when it finds you, it will feel like arriving at a destination you were always meant for, with the person you were always meant to be. So to the woman who is reading this, navigating life on her own terms, you are not behind. You are not lost. You are not incomplete. You are a pioneer. You are carving a new path, one that prioritizes authenticity over approval and growth over stagnation. Keep going. Your future self is already thanking you for every boundary you held, every compromise you refused, and every dream you had the courage to chase. And when love finally arrives, and oh, it will arrive, it will knock on your door gently, holding respect and admiration in its hands, ready to meet you as an equal. It will honor your journey, celebrate you, and add to your story without trying to rewrite it. And in that moment, you will realize the most profound truth of all: you weren't waiting to be saved. You were preparing to be met.